Queens and Kings. My name is Thandeka Shabangu. Welcome to my channel. If it is your first time here, welcome. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you for coming back. Welcome to this tutorial. I've had a request asking if how can we write words when we make belts. So I've decided that each week we're going to be doing one alphabet using the brick stitch. So for this week, we're going to start with our first alphabet, alphabet A. We're going to do the capital letter A and the small letter A. And then the next week, we'll be doing the capital letter B and the small letter B, and so on and so forth. So we're going to start a series for writing down our letters when we are doing our brick stitch. So what materials we'll be using for today's tutorial? We're using your upholstery thread, your check beads. I've been saying it wrong all this time. Check beads. I'll be using the 8-knot size, and you're going to also use your needles. Your needle. So let's get started. First tip when you're doing your letters is to make sure that you have two different colors. One should be dark and one should be bright so that your letters can be able to stand out. So it's also depending on the theme of your belt. Maybe your belt is black and white or black and gold, but try to use colors that are going to allow your letters to stand out. So our background is going to be our navy blue color, and then we're going to write our letters in our yellow color. So the two colors don't really compete with each other. They give each other that opportunity. Okay, so now this is my needle and my upholstery thread. What I'm going to do, I'm going to make 2 knots, one on top of another. So here at the end, I'm just going to take one tail from the thread. I'm not going to use a double thread. So this is my way of making a knot. Okay, let me start again. Okay, second chance. 2 times the charm. 1, 2. Then you pull your needle. Nice and slowly. And then you have a ta-da! So we're gonna get started with our brick stitch. So how do we get started? You first start to pick up 2 beads. So this is the background. We haven't started yet with our letters. So the background of my belt is going to be navy blue. So this is my 2 beads. I'm going to take my needle, insert it into the first bead that I've picked up in an upwards direction. And then the beads are next to each other. Then I move down. Then I pick up another bead. Make sure the beads are next to each other nicely. Like this. Then I pick up another bead underneath, and I move up. Then make sure the bead is next to each other. You pick up another bead. So you want to keep adding your beads in this way. You're going to be continuing with your row until you have 12 beads. So currently we have 5. So you're going to keep adding until you have 12 beads in total. So I've added my 12 beads in total. So now we're going to move on to the next row. How do you get started with your next row? You pick up 2 beads. You insert your needle under the bridge and then you pull. Then as you pull, make sure that the beads are laying on top of each other nicely. Then insert your needle into the bead closest to your needle and then you move in an upwards direction. So there you have it, you have your 2 beads. Ne? So now we're going to get started with our letter A. So this is my chalkboard. So this is your belt. This is how we're building the belt. Ne? So as we move up with our brick stitch, we're going to get a nice long belt. But eventually when you're done, this is how your belt is going to be. So your letters have to be in this manner. That's how they're supposed to be seated. We are not going to have our letters like this. You can also do that way, but for this lesson, this is how we're going to structure our letters. So this is our belt. As we move up, this is how we're going to structure our letters, so that when we're done with our belt, you can just turn it and then you have your belt. Mostly this is done for bracelets or headbands. So the first part that we're going to start with, we are now going to start introducing this part of our capital letter A. So that means we are going to change color. So we remember our yellow represents our letter and our navy is going to be our background. Ne? It's going to be the canvas that we're painting on. So I'll pick up 1 yellow bead and then I insert it in between the bridge, the thread bridge. Then I pull, then I insert my needle upwards and then I pull. Here we go. Then I pick up another yellow bead insert your needle, then you move up. Pick up another yellow bead under the thread bridge, then insert your needle into the bead and then you pull. Pick up another yellow bead, insert your needle into your bead and then you pull. So you're going to continue with your adding your yellow beads. In total, you're supposed to have 7 yellow beads. So currently we have 4. You're just going to add 3 more yellow beads and then I'm going to come back. So these are my 7 beads. Going to continue with my navy beads. So after you've had your 7 beads for your A, then for the rest of the row you're going to add your background color beads. In this case it's our navy blue beads. One more. Okay, so now we are going to turn. Every time when we turn using this brick stitch, sorry, can I just cut out this tail, make it shorter? We pick up 2 beads. So we pick up our background beads, which is navy. So we're going to pick up 2 of our background beads, insert it into the first bridge thread, then you pull. Then make sure that your beads are seated nicely side by side. Then insert your needle in an upward direction. Then you pick up 1 more navy bead, so now you're going to pick up yellow bead, which is your letter bead. And then you go back to your background bead, our navy in this case. Then you pick up another navy bead for your background. Then you pick up 1 yellow bead. This is our letter bead, letter color bead. Then you go back to your navy bead. So for your navy bead, you're going to add the navy bead throughout the rest of the row until you get to the end. Ne? You add your navy bead until you get to the end. So I've added my navy bead until I got to the end. So now we're going to turn. You pick up 2 navy beads, which are your background beads. Background. And you turn. You add your other navy bead. And your other navy bead. So now you are going to pick up 1 yellow bead. So this is the side of our A. Once we're done, this is how our A will be able to be. We can be able to read our A like this. So now we're building from the side, moving up. I hope you can see the vision, but it's okay. It will all make sense when we're done. Then you pick up, you go back to your background color. You pick up one navy bead and you pick up your other navy bead. Then you pick up another navy bead. Then you pick up one yellow bead. So our letter bead, the color that's responsible for our letter. And then the remaining two beads, you're going to add your navy beads. So now we're going to start a new row. So you've added your two navy beads. You're starting a new row. You're going to pick up two navy beads, your background color. Make sure that they're seated next to each other. Then insert your needle and then you pull. Then you pick up your yellow bead, your letter color, to finish off the roof tip of our letter A. And then you go back to your navy bead. Pick up another navy bead. Then you pick up another navy bead, your background color. So now you're going to pick up one yellow bead. And then to save time, I'm just gonna tell you that for the rest of the row, you're going to add your navy beads. So I'm going to do it off camera and then I'm going to come back. So you have completed the rest of the row with your navy beads. Now we're going to start a new row. You pick up two navy beads, you insert them under the thread bridge. Make sure that they're sitting nicely next to each other like cute birdies sitting on the line. One name Peter, one name Paul. Fly away Peter, fly away Paul. Come back Peter, come back Paul. I'm sorry, I had a moment there. I remembered a song we used to sing when we were playing skipping. Then you pick up. I used to love skipping, but the style I used to hate so much was when you have to freestyle and you have to copy the first person who would go in before you, and then that person will do like amatambla. Pick up one yellow bead. Like they will stand on the hands. That's amatambla. And then now you have to copy that. Of course I'm gonna lose. I've always been a heavy kid. So hi boo. But I used to enjoy skipping a lot. Then you pick up your navy bead. Then pick up another navy bead. So now you're going to pick up one yellow bead. So because this was the tip of the roof of our capital A, now we have to move the roof downwards. Ne? It has to slant a bit downwards. So that's why we're not going to put our yellow bead here. Instead, we're going to put it before the previous yellow bead. Because now we have to move downwards. It has to be slanted downwards. Ne? Then for the remaining rest of the row, you pick up your navy beads. Here's another navy bead. So now you're going to pick up two navy beads. Insert it under the first thread bridge. Then you pick up another navy bead. Then you pick up one yellow bead. So growing up, when it comes to like the indigenous games, playing around, I enjoyed being an all saver. So in all saver it would be, usually there would be two teams. So in all saver, the all saver can play in both teams. Usually the all saver is the weakest one of them all. So they know that the all saver is not gonna make any other team be stronger than the other. So that's why I was an all saver, because I was not really good with games, but I was good. Pick up one yellow bead. So I was always an all saver. But I enjoyed being an all saver because I can mess up. It would be okay because, it's not like my teammates are depending on me. There's no pressure. So for the remaining row, you're going to pick up navy beads. For the rest of the row, you're going to pick up navy beads. So you added your navy beads until you got to the corner. So for this row, we're finally doing the last line for our A. So this is our A. So we're going to be doing this part of our A. Yeah? It's the last part for our A. The one game I used to enjoy was Ipati. So this is because I was good with dodging the ball. So what happened? Gubati, ne? So now you're going to keep adding your yellow beads. Because I love talking, I'm gonna talk while while adding the yellow beads. So there would be two teams, right? Oh, I have to write this down. Okay, I decided to write down when I'm done with the A because I don't want to confuse you. So all you needed to play this game, you needed tins, like different size of tins. You need a big bucket, maybe a 20-liter bucket, a 5-liter bucket, a coffee tin, and maybe a jam tin, and then a cool baked beans tin, like the smaller tin, right? So while the game is playing, so team one would be so the tins would be placed at the center of the field or of the street, and then team one would have to be responsible to stack those tins, but team two will have the players on each side, on the on the each ends of the street or of the area that you're playing in. So the aim is that as team one stacks the tins at the center, the other team is supposed to hit the members of team one as they're stacking those tins. So if they hit you, you are out. So the remaining players for team one have to keep stacking those tins. So you'll be multitasking. Number one, you'll be dodging the balls. At the same time, the aim is to stack those tins. And you have to make sure those tins are steady because it's going to affect you towards the end of the game. So when you're done stacking, there is another end that they will that all the team members who survived, who are not hit by the ball, are supposed to stand at. Ne? Okay, let me finish this row. Now draw something that is completely irrelevant to what we are completely irrelevant to this tutorial. So this is the field, ne? So team members for team two will be like this. Will be seated here, ne? And this is the center. So this is where you have to stack your tins. It's gonna be like a tiered cake. Then when you're done, when the surviving members have to run off to this end, not this end, and everyone has to inspect, ne? So remember, this stack is at the center of the field, ne? So now, once everyone is done stacking from team one, they're gonna run back to this end, and it's a quite a distance, probably the distance between, and they will stand behind this line. So maybe this distance between the line and the center of the tins that they just stacked would be probably, let's say, about 3.5 meters. So each the surviving members who are not hit by the ball while stacking the tin are the ones that are going to stand behind this line. Ne? Let's say there were 7 players that were stacking and only 3 survived. So it's up to these 3 to hit. They're given a ball and they're supposed to hit these tins until they fall apart. So each person will be given maybe 2 tries. And then you have to make sure that you hit this stacked whatever creation, I think, until it falls down. If it doesn't, then I don't remember what happens if you don't do that. Okay. Now back to serious business that we're all here for. So this is our capital letter A. Now we're going to do our small letter A. Ne? So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to add one more line just to make a nice gap between our capital and our small letter A. And then we'll come back. Okay, so now we're going to get started with our small letter A. Going to pick up 2 navy beads. Insert your needle under your thread bridge. And then you're going to pick up 1 navy bead. So now we are going to add 3 yellow beads for this row. We are getting started with our small letter A. Oh man, playing these games would be so nice, and I don't think these PlayStation kids understand. Ah, good times. Way before load shedding and debit orders. Ah, good times, good times. Those are the best days. And we play the whole day. The whole day. And by the time you come back home, you're full of dust. And tomorrow it's the same thing. They'll even, my mother would even make sure that I have to leave. I have to make sure that I'm done with my chores before I leave. And I have bathed and then I have eaten. Those 3 things had to be done because the minute I'm out, there's no way I'm going to come back. I'm probably going to come back around 5 o'clock. So you leave at around 10 in the morning, and then by 5 o'clock you're back. During the school holidays though. But during weekdays, like once the schools were open, we wouldn't really find that much time to play because we have homework, we have chores. Yeah. But during school holidays, it was the best. And what made things even extra nice, it's because, so now we're starting a new line, eh? I talk too much. Way. It's because, like for me, my cousin sisters would come and visit, and in our same street would have other kids who are visiting their relatives. So it'd be a lot of us. Others are they visiting their grandparents? Are they visiting their aunts in the same street? So usually, let's say in the street will be 7 kids, but during school holidays, that number would multiply. It would be like 21 of us, and then we'd play Ibat, the tin game that I've just explained. Oh man, good times, good times. So now this is the circle we're creating for our small letter A. So we have to keep opening it up on the sides and filling the center with our navy beads. Ne? So I'm going to start with my yellow. We are opening it up on the side. And then we're filling up the center with our navy bead. So this skill that we're busy with, we're going to take it to other alphabets. When we're doing our B, when we're doing our D, when we're doing our P and Q. Okay, sorry. You're going to take your yellow bead, open it up. The aim is that we are opening at the sides and we are filling our center. Okay. So now we are going to turn. You're going to pick up 2 navy beads. 2 navy beads. Then you pick up 1 yellow bead. And then Remember, we're opening the sides, and we're filling up the center. So you're filling up the center with your navy bead, which is our background color. Pick another navy bead. We're opening the sides, ne? So how do you open? You add your yellow bead. There we go. So for the remaining row, you're going to add your navy beads. So to keep this video short, because I've wasted it with explaining games, I'm going to come back once I've done with my navy beads. So now you're starting a new row. So for the rest of the row, I added my navy beads. So you're starting a new row with our 2 navy beads. Insert our needle under the thread bridge. Make sure your needles are seated nicely. Then you pull. You pick up another I get so shocked with this generation, how forward they are with things like dating and stuff. Tina, when we were 15, we were excited about the next flavor of CP sherbet. Like that would be our our priority. These kids now, ay, ay, ay. Okay, so opening on the sides and you're filling up the center. So let's open the side by adding our yellow bead. We're gonna fill up the center with our navy bead. That's one thing I'm scared about when I have my kids is the fact that as much as you can teach your child values and morals, sometimes society is also doing its own teaching. They're also installing their own values and morals to your child, because there's no parent who has this aim that I want my child to be badly behaved when they grow up. And I know I've seen a lot of parents who try so hard to make sure that their kids. So now we're going to add our yellow bead. Like, they give them attention, they work so hard that to make sure that the kids have the basic needs. They give their time, but yeah, society nayo has an effect, like peer pressure and stuff with the kids. That's one fear I have. So you're gonna pick up 2 navy beads, because the world is changing. Oh, okay, so let me explain. So we've opened up our sides, so now it's time for us to close our sides, ne? So we open, now we are moving inwards. So we are moving inwards. So that's why I'm going to have a navy bead here instead of a yellow bead. Now I'm going to add my yellow bead. And then I move into the center. I add my navy beads. So the number of navy beads at the center are going to decrease by 1 when you compare to the previous row. What do I mean by that? The previous row you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 navy beads. Ne? So at the center you're going to have 3 navy beads. Then you pick up your yellow bead. Yellow bead. Then for the remaining row, for the rest of the row, you're going to add your background color. So you're going to add your navy beads for the rest of the row. So I've added my navy beads for the remaining row, and this is how it looks like. So now I'm going to get started with our new row. You pick up 2 navy beads. So remember, at first we were opening up our circle. Now we are closing our circle. So that means at the center we'll be having a few number of our navy beads. We are moving inwards. So now gonna add our yellow bead. So you're gonna have a few number of beads at the center. Now previous line we had 1, 2, 3 navy beads. So for this line it means we're supposed to have 2 navy beads at the center. So this is my first navy bead, and this is my second navy bead. And then you move on, you add your yellow bead. For the rest of the row, you pick up your background color, which is our navy. Okay, so let's go back to our chalkboard, our makeshift chalkboard. So let's put it like this. So we've currently done the circle part of our A. Ne? So now we have to do the stem part of our A. So we'll be closing off our circle, and we'll also be doing a stem in one row. Ne? So this is what we'll be busy with now. We're doing the stem. For the stem, you're going to pick up 1 navy and 1 yellow bead when you're starting your new row. The stem of our A, our small letter A, you need to be careful so that it doesn't look like an inverted P. So it's not supposed to be too long. It's also not supposed to be too short. Then you're going to continue with another yellow bead. Then you pick up another yellow bead. And then you pick up another yellow bead. Another one, thank you. Another one, thank you. So you're going to make a small ear just by adding 1 more yellow bead. So here's a cute ear for our letter A. Oopsie, I pulled too hard and I snapped my thread. Okay, let me fix that one and then I'll come back. So I sorted out my problem. So we're going to add one more, that small ear, and there you have your A. So for the remaining part of the row, you're just going to add your background color until you get to the end. You added your navy beads until you got to the end. So I'm just going to do one more line to make sure that the A is nicely, and then we'll come back and have a chat. So this is our capital letter A and our small letter A. So for the next part, we'll be doing our capital letter B and our small letter B. Now, if you're also interested, this stitch that we used is a brick stitch. We used a brick stitch for these letters. If you're also interested, if you have a loom machine, you can also use loom to write letters. And also there's another stitch called angled weaving, right angled stitch. If you're interested in that, there's a channel called Strike Art and Landscaping. He also has alphabet. He has all the alphabets from A to Z, all the letters in the alphabet using the right angled stitch. So this is where we're going to stop, queens and kings. Thank you so much for watching. I love you guys so much. Hey, I missed you. Remember to love yourself, respect yourself, honor yourself, and have fun. If you love the content that you're seeing, please consider subscribing. See you on the next video. Bye.